What's up, guys? Good to see everybody. Well, first of all, I want to thank the commissioner for the job that he and his office did last year. What a tremendous job of communicating with us, sometimes on a daily basis, and doing a great job of getting us through the season. What a tremendous job I thought that he did personally. We're very proud to be here at SEC Media Day representing the LSU Tigers. I brought two great guys today to represent us, Derek Stingley and Austin Deckles. We could have brought 10. We have a lot of guys that are coming back from our football team that are tremendous leaders. Derek's one of the top corners in America, one of the top players coming back, and has become a tremendous leader for us. Austin Deckles is going to break the record for most games played by any LSU football player this year. But he was instrumental in getting our whole offensive line to come back. I could have brought a whole offensive line back here. They're a tremendous group of young men. Obviously, we're excited about this season. We got a lot of guys returning. We have an experienced team. We have a very good team, a very good coaching staff coming back. And I love the mindset of this football team and the leadership of the football team. A couple of things on offense. We brought back Jake Peets and DJ Mangus to run Joe Brady's offense in 2019, one of the most prolific offenses in the history of football, and that's what we're going to. And I think those guys are going to do a tremendous job. I'm also excited about the acquisition of Brad Davis in the summer, one of the best offensive line coaches in the country, along with Kevin Falk and Mickey Joseph. Those guys are going to do a tremendous job for us. Obviously on offense, we got to battle at quarterback. I think it's healthy for our football team. I believe in both quarterbacks. Miles Brennan and Max Johnson, I think, are two championship quarterbacks. Whoever wins is going to do a great job at LSU. It's going to be a great battle. We're going to see what happens. We have an offensive line coming back, Tyron Davis and John Emery. It's time. Tyron's in the best shape he's been. Keyshawn Butte coming in with some tremendous young wide receivers. We have a great offense coming back. I can't wait to see those guys play. On defense, I was very excited to be able to hire Durante Jones. He's an expert. On the back end comes from Mike Zimmer's system, one of the best cover guys in all of the world, along with Andre and along with Blake. I think those guys are going to do a great job with Corey Raymond on defense. We're excited to go to the 4-3 defense. Got our defensive line coming back. Got two of the best corners in America, and Derek and Eli Ricks. Got some young safeties, one of the top safeties in the country, two top safeties in recruiting. Got two tremendous young linebackers that we acquired through the transfer portal. And we're excited about that. We're excited about Cade York coming back, Avery Atkins on special teams. So I know you guys got a lot of questions, but I just want to give you a little preview of our football team. And any questions?
All right, thank you, Coach. If you have a question, raise your hand. Savannah, Riley, and AJ will get a microphone to you. And we ask that you please stand and give your name and affiliation. So we'll go ahead and start up here on the front row to the left with Bob.
Hey, Ed, Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat. Is that how you doing? I know you made a lot of changes with your coaching staff. Why did you pick the guys you did? How do you feel they're fitting in? And Brad Davis in particular from Arkansas, why did you zero in on him, and what's he bring to you guys?
Well, first of all, great to see you, Bob. Brad Davis is a guy from Baton Rouge, a tremendous recruiter, known for him for a while, up-and-coming offensive line coach. You always have a group of coaches on a list in case something happens. Something did happen, he became available. We're very happy to have him. He's happy to be home in Baton Rouge. One of the things that, and I talked about this before, our coaches didn't know this, but when I was interviewing them, I was pretending I was one of our players. And I wanted to see how well they would communicate to our players. Because, coaches are going to know a lot of football, but it's how much that they can get to our players and how much our players will know. And every one of these coaches, they were 20 years, average 20 years younger than the coaches I had on the staff. Every one of these coaches made an A+ in communication with our players.
Okay, we'll go over here on the left-hand side on the right aisle.
Hello, Ed. David Cloninger from the Charleston Post and Courier. About what percentage of your team has been vaccinated for COVID?
I can't tell you that. I think most of our guys have been vaccinated for COVID, and obviously that's a personal choice. But hopefully towards the season that most of our guys decide to get vaccinated.
Okay, we'll go right here on the second row. Ron?
Yeah, Ron Higgins, TigerRagMagazine.com. Ed, how would you describe the past 12 months for you and your program? in the tough season and then all the off the field stuff, it seemed like the hits just kept on coming.
Yeah.
And you could there was one crisis after another. Can you just describe how do you got through that and how do you continue to get through it?
Yeah, obviously, you come up from the 2019 season, you're feeling good. You had a great season, and all of a sudden stuff hits. But, that's life. You got to be prepared. I think that some of the stuff we were prepared for, some of the stuff we weren't. But we stuck together as an administrative staff, as a staff. We fought through it. I think it shows that when you go to Florida, you're 27-point underdog. Your back's against the wall. You got a freshman quarterback. You beat them in the swamp. You beat a great Ole Miss team. I think that was an outstanding team that Lane had. And then you have the number 3 recruiting class. And then you have 19 of your 22 starters decide to come back. So that says something's going on in the locker room. Something's going on. Our players are believing each other. And I think all those things at the end, we ended up being an ascending program.
Coach, we'll go right down in front of us, second row.
Hey, Coach. Joey Blackwell with BamaCentral.com. What are your feelings? What is your approach to NIL and its implementation at LSU? And have you talked to your players about it? And how do you feel about its impact across the landscape of college football?
First of all, I'm for it. Whatever we can give to our players legally, I think they deserve it. We hired an outside firm to give us some advice on how to handle this stuff. A lot of our guys have taken the business on their own and done a very good job. I just know this, that, a lot of players, I think they're going to get a lot of stuff. Obviously, in the real world, it's not like that. You have to go out and compete. But I do hope that when we get to the locker room, the focus is on football. And I think that's where we have to bring the focus back. When it's time to focus on NIL stuff, focus on NIL stuff. When it's time to focus on football and academics, focus on football and academics. And that's what I'm going to talk about.
Coach, we're going to go over to our left section, about 4 rows back.
Michael Katz, Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal. Ed, obviously you have a history with Lane Kiffin from your time at USC. You also have a history with Ole Miss. I'm curious, when he was in the process of taking that job, did he reach out to you, and what sorts of information did you give to him? And on a sort of similar note, obviously we see Lane from afar. I'm curious what he's like, when the cameras aren't around. What is he kind of like as just a regular guy?
Yeah. First of all, I think Lane's one of the best offensive minds I've ever been around. Noticed that the first day. Lane's a friend of mine. He's a great recruiter. He's a great competitor. I think he's doing a great job at Ole Miss. He did not call me. I think his offenses are hard to stop. I studied his offenses against other teams. He's riddled other teams. He's probably the best game day caller I've been around. I think that Ole Miss got them a great coach.
Coach, we're going to go all the way to the back and the right.
Lance Dahl here with the Auburn Network. You're talking about Durante Jones and how he's going to be able to help your defensive backfield. Schematically, what are some of the things that y'all are going to improve on in order to get your defensive backfield better prepared this season? I know y'all have got the talent for sure.
Yeah. We have to eliminate explosive plays. We had too many explosive plays, too many missed assignments, too many busts, too many receivers running down the field free. We played a lot of man, a lot of combination man, stuff like that. Some of it was simple, some of it was too complicated. We're going to simplify stuff. We want our players to have their cleats in the grass. We're going to play a lot more zone. They won't be switching off at this level, switching off on that level. We're going to let our guys play, keep the ball in front of us, and make plays.
Coach, we'll go right down in front of me, about 3 rows back.
Tom Abraham, 97.7 ESPN. Coach, after a 10-game SEC schedule last year, any thoughts that you have about expanding the schedule to 9 or maybe even 10 in the future?
Yeah, if they do it, I'm for it. I thought it was great. I'm excited to go play UCLA. I'm excited to go across the country and take the Tigers to Los Angeles. I'm excited to play my son. So, both of us have some advantages. One of the things as a coach, I don't worry about that stuff because that's not my wheelhouse. If I have a vote, I'll vote. But whatever they tell me to play, I'm going to play.
All right, we'll stay on this middle section on the left aisle.
Coach Orgeron, Drew DeArmond, ESPN 97.7 The Zone Radio in Huntsville, Alabama. Talk about Neil Farrell on your defensive line. He came back last year. He opted out, came back to the team. He stayed and can come back, came back this year. One of those guys you're talking about. What are your expectations for him, and what kind of impact is Andre Carter going to have with him?
Yeah, first of all, I'm so proud of Neil Farrell. I saw him down the hallway yesterday. I found out he just graduated from LSU. And I'm so happy for him and his mom and daddy. He's a great young man. He came back. Neil makes a lot of plays. If you look at the stats last year, he's one of our most active defensive linemen. He came back, got in great shape. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year for us. We're going to use a rotating defensive line. We have some young defensive linemen that are phenomenal. Probably the best recruiting class that we had on the defensive line coming in. Andre Carter is a force. He's a great young man. You think about this, he had 80.5 sacks. His daddy was Reuben Carter. He comes from great family, great stock. He's a great teacher, he's a great mentor, a great recruiter. I just hope I can keep him around for a while. He's that good of a football coach.
Okay, we're going to go right in the center section, right in front of you, Coach, about midway back.
Hey, Coach. Billy Embody with 24/7 Sports. The 2022 class in Louisiana is especially stacked. Can you speak to the job you guys are doing recruiting the state, and do you notice it being even more competitive this year than maybe in other years?
Yeah, well, it's very competitive. It always is. But, obviously we have to start in the state. We're doing very well right now. We have a big jump, and the guys that are committed in our class have become leaders and become recruiters and are recruiting the other guys in the state of Louisiana. We expect some good news coming up soon. We're going to be in some battles to the very end to some of the top players. But I do expect us to get most of these players. I'm not saying we're going to get all of them. I do expect us to get most.
Coach, we'll go over to our right side and about three-quarters of the way back.
Ed, this is Pete Thamel from Yahoo Sports back here. In the past few months, Ed, LSU as a school, the athletic department, and you personally have been linked to some serious sexual misconduct allegations. I know there's obviously some active lawsuits, and I'm not as much asking you to comment on that specifically as curious if the past few months you've had any takeaways in terms of changed behaviors and how you're going to maybe act differently as a coach in handling such situations in the future.
Yeah, that's something I'm not going to comment on at all. That's an ongoing investigation. I'm not going to comment on any of that. Thanks for asking, though.
Okay, we'll go in the center section, straight ahead of us.
Hey, John Del Bianco at thebigspur.com and 24/7 Sports. Your first head coaching job was here in the SEC at Ole Miss. Shane Beamer is now a first-time head coach in the SEC at South Carolina. I'm just curious if you know him personally and what advice you would give him as he begins his head coaching tenure in the SEC.
Yeah, I know him a little bit. I saw him at the airport. They said, Coach, South Carolina was here early. I said, yeah, it's his first job. Good. I'm excited for him. I think he's going to do a great job. I think, when I was in Knoxville, I thought that, in the Knoxville area, you go to South Carolina, there's a tremendous amount of talent in South Carolina and North Carolina. I think that he's going to do a tremendous job. He's a great coach. I wish him the very best.
Okay, we'll go to the back on the left. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Jacques Doucet, WAFB in Baton Rouge. You talked about the new coaches. What we're hearing is the chemistry really is good between the new coaches and the players, and nothing against last year's coaches, but the chemistry seemed to be off last year. Can you speak a little bit more to that, how these coaches are adapting to the players?
Well, I'm glad they're saying that, Jock. That's the reason I hired those guys. And I did my research. I called people that knew them. I wanted to know how they interacted with the players. I called some of the ex-players that they coached. I said, tell me how he is on a daily basis. Everybody can be one way in an interview, but I want to know how they're going to be every day. And I did my research on these guys, and they matched everything that the ex-players told me, the ex-coaches told me, and the knowledge that they have. The one thing that I'm very impressed with that I didn't really, because they're young coaches, they've never been coordinators, their ability to lead. I think they're tremendous leaders. They're in the office early in the morning. They're very well organized. And sometimes when it's your first time, you don't know how well organized that you have to be or the work that you have to put in. These guys have graded A+ in that area.
We'll go down here to the right, Scooter.
Scooter Hobbs, Lake Charles, American Press. With the NIL and the transfer portal, you obviously have to manage your roster a little bit with the latter.
Mm-hmm.
But with both of those, do you have to manage team chemistry? Like if one guy gets a big NIL deal, others getting jealous of him, things like that. Do you worry about that?
I think that's one of the biggest things to manage nowadays. And again, I'm going to turn 60 this summer. Hey, football's changing. I'm going to change with it. I want to coach for a long time, but that's what I have to do. That's what I have to do. I think that, that we have to realize the guys that are getting the NILs, getting the amount of money, and make sure that we're managing guys that may not get the job, talk to them, make sure that does not bother them. That's why, we have about 50 people helping us not 50 people that can coach on the field, but for player services, for guiding people through academics. That's why we need all this help.
Coach, we'll go over here to the left middle section, up in the middle first. Go ahead. All right. Cecil, go ahead if you've got it. There we go.
Coach, you mentioned going back to the offense from 2 years ago, the Joey Burrow offense. Are the two quarterback candidates that you have, or there may be more than two, but are the quarterbacks you have, are they equally adroit at running that, or how has that worked out in practice?
Well, I don't know if we're going to see another Joe Burrow. I hope we do. I can't wait to see him. And I hope Max, Miles, or Garrett Nussmeier becomes like that. But the type of offense that we're going to run, the style of offense in 2019, the type of checks that we had, the type of protections, that's the stuff I'm talking about now. Whether or not Max, Miles, or Garrett can run it like Joe, I'm not expecting that. But I want to see the same type of plays. I want to see the same type of adjustments that was so successful for us. Now, that doesn't mean that's the only thing we're going to run. But that is going to be the basis of our offense, which is a spread offense, which we learned under Joe Brady.
Okay, we'll stay over in that same section. Go ahead.
Hey, Ed, Mark Weiser, Athens Banner Herald. Did you think you guys had a chance to keep Eric Gilbert as you looked at his options? And what do you see for him at Georgia, where they're listing him as a wide receiver?
We wish Eric the best. He's an outstanding young man. His mama's a great lady. I think he's going to be an all-pro tight end, All-American. Has a chance to be a first-round draft choice.
Coach, we'll go over here to the right side along the aisle.
Theo DeRosa, Commercial Dispatch, Columbus, Mississippi. Mississippi State, your first SEC game this year. It's on the road. Obviously, that was a big upset last year. What kind of adjustments are you going to have to make for this game? And what kind of program is Mike running over there in Starkville?
Yeah, we'll stop his offense. We didn't stop it one time. But obviously, he came in with the air raid the first time. We had seen it before, obviously. But we didn't do a good job with it. And then, we saw the people did some good things against us. So, the more stuff you put on tape, the more we would learn how to stop it. Obviously, go and play there. I think Mississippi State does a great job of playing there. The cowbells and all that noise. It's our first SEC game. It's a game that we must win to get to where we want to go. This is the SEC. You got to be ready every Saturday. But you know what? Instead of, and you asked me about that, instead of worrying about all that stuff, my focus is going to be on camp and this football team and getting them better starting August 6th.
Coach, we'll go back here to Ron Higgins on the second row.
Ed, you talked about doing your homework and hiring the new coaches, and you kind of mentioned this on a Zoom call back in the spring. We're trying to get clarification. The coaches you hired in 2020, did you interview all of them? I mean, or part of them? But just trying to get. We weren't clear when you talked about that.
Well, there were some interviews that were not face-to-face. There were some hires that were made that, hey, you know what? I know the guy, he knows me, let's talk about it. Hey, this is what we're going to run, stuff like that. But, when I hired Bo, it was not a formal interview. I know that's probably what you're asking. And I believed in him, and it just didn't work. And I said I would never do that again. And every one of these guys, I interviewed them in person. I had a long interview with them. I had specific questions that I asked, things that I may have should have asked, I shouldn't have. If I'd have interviewed Bo Pelini face to face, I'd have still hired him. There would have been no change in that because of his reputation and because of the guy I know. I'm sure of that.
Coach, we'll go over here to the right, about the fourth row.
Hey, Ed, Adam Luckett, Kentucky Sports Radio. Dare Rosenthal is an offensive tackle. He's going to Kentucky. What type of player is Mark Stoops' program getting?
Yeah.
And what's it going to be like facing an intra-conference transfer this year?
Yeah, well, it's different, obviously. We hated to lose him. I recruited there out of Faraday High School as the defensive lineman, went to offensive line. He didn't want to leave. It was hard on him. I think you got a potential first-round draft choice there. And Dare knows he's got some stuff that he needs to get better at. I'm sure Kentucky's going to see that, but he's a great young man, a great team player. But he's going to be wearing another helmet, and he's going to be trying his best. I'm going to expect his best against us, and he's going to get our best. I know he expects that. That's just the way it is.
Okay, we're going to go in the middle section about midway back. Got a question right over here.
Brooks Cabina from the Advocate. Ed, all the changes, coaching and players as well. I mean, how do you maintain the program as you want it going towards the future? Going off of last year and trying. And I think you talked about LSU standards and such, but all these things changing.
Well, that program has been set, and that program is set, and the people that are around me have helped me build that program. I have pillars on my staff that are still there. I have pillars on my support staff that are still there, and they understand the program that we put in place since I've been the head coach, and we started from scratch. So there's some things some philosophies that we're going to stay with. There's some changes that we have to make, but every one of these guys that I interviewed, I specifically told them what I wanted done, and they specifically agreed to that. And I think that those guys have done a good job since they've been hired, and they understand the format, they understand how we're going to practice, they understand what I want, and they've done a good job with it. So I see no problem for us continuing to at the LSU standard performance. Now we got to coach better and we got to play better.
Coach, we'll go back here with Bob in the front row.
Hey, Ed, this is a two-part question. Kevin can help you remember the other part if you forget. He's used to me. Okay. But the first part is both your new coordinators had a connection to your previous, coordinators. Mm-hmm. How important was that? How that play into the recruiting process? How far out was that McNeese game scheduled? It's kind of odd. A coach faces his son, and you're going to be in game plans that week trying to figure out how to hit him and force turnovers and sack him and whatever. What's that going to be like?
Yeah, well, first of all, me relying on former coordinators that I trust was very, very instrumental in me hiring both of our coordinators. In fact, that's about 80% of it, to be honest with you. Playing Cody, Cody is a very competitive young man. And playing McNeese State, Frank Wilson is a good friend of mine. Well, Frank is one of the best assistant coaches ever at LSU, great recruiter. He's family. They're going to give us their best shot. My son's going to he's going to give me all I can get. And guess what? I'm going to give him all I can give him. And that's just the way it's going to be. He's going to expect my best, and I'm going to expect his best, and we're going to compete. And we'll shake hands and hug after the game. That's just the way it's going to be.
Coach, we'll go to the back of the room on the right side.
Hey, Coach. Kate Adams, WAFB TV, Baton Rouge. Since your time at LSU, coming in as interim head coach in 2016, then fast forward to one of the greatest college football teams ever in 2019, then a crazy year with the pandemic in 2020. Going into 2021, what is one of the biggest lessons you've learned, especially in these last 3 years, that you're going to take into this year as head coach, and then also a message that you want your team to know this year?
Yeah, do it the way I want. That's it. Not done the way I want, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it immediately. I see something broke, I'm fixing it. LSU standard of performance, the way we have done things. This reminds me a lot of the 2018 season. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of noise out there. You got to block out the noise. A lot of predictions on this and this. That stuff don't matter. It's about our football team. It's about me gelling this football team together, for us playing together. I think leadership, not letting any outside influences affect us, the way we play, the way we perform. I think that's going to be important for this football team. We've had more team meals. We've had more leadership committees. I told these guys, you got to promise me if anything is going wrong, let me know first. If I can fix it, I will. Let's communicate. If there's something that we need to be done better in our university that I can help, I will help. We're giving them all the means that we can to have an open line of communication, and I think that's going to help for this year.
Coach, we'll go over to the right side, about 3/4 of the way back.
Hey, Coach. Travis Brown with the Bryan College Station Eagle. How much do you have to pay attention to what other programs around the country and around the conference are doing as far as NIL stuff is going, and how that might anecdotally help them in recruiting? Is there anything that you've seen out there that made you kind of roll your eyes?
That's a good question. One of the things that we did in the offseason to hire Austin Thomas back as our general manager. He's done a tremendous job of putting together a personnel department, putting together a department that pays attention to all that stuff. I don't have time about it. I don't want to. But if some other schools are doing stuff because it's new and it's something that we're not doing, it's something that we can do, we have to use it to compete. We all learn from each other, just like watching film. If a coach at another school is running something on offense, we may steal it from them, they may steal it from us. I think that's going to be the same thing.
Coach, we'll go to the back of the room on the left aisle.
Hey, Coach, there's a view that there are some schools in the SEC that have a competitive advantage and a recruiting advantage over other schools because there's no uniform drug policy in the Southeastern Conference, and some people have spoken out about that. Would you like to see a uniform drug policy in the SEC?
That's a very delicate subject. LSU has its own drug policy that's run by the administration. I follow that policy. I don't know if a uniform drug policy would help or not. I haven't thought of that question or to give you a great answer. I know that I hear some schools are different than others. I don't know that. I just know what our policy is and we follow it.
Okay, we'll go in the center section on the left aisle. Go ahead.
Ivan Mazel with On3.com, Ed. Given the number of super seniors this year and the number of seniors that were able to come back, how much will that affect the quality or sophistication of what you see in offenses that play LSU this year?
It should be great. You got some returning guys. COVID helped us. We'd have lost our whole offensive line, our whole defensive line. It'd have been tough to replace all those guys. But these offenses are on fire right now. And I think what you're seeing is guys are coming back, running the same plays, doing the same thing, skill positions. Our skill positions are loaded just like other schools, 7-on-7. There's no more fullbacks. So all those things, I think that you're going to see some explosive offenses on defensive guys. We got to catch up. We're a little bit behind.
All right, Coach O, thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys. Go Tigers.
Alabama has a record number of open jobs. Find yours at your local career center.